there. So this week we're talking about supporting yourself so that you can support your child. And one of the ways that you can support yourself is by having supportive people in your life. And what does that look like? So when my son Leo came out, it was 2016, and I talked to my therapist at the end of that year. We were doing getting ready for the 1 year anniversary of Leo being out, kind of appointment, right? And she asked how I was doing, like how I was doing about the 1 year anniversary coming up, how I was doing after it having been a year of Leo being out as transgender. And I did some reflecting on that past year, and what I told her was that it felt like the loneliest year of my life. And so she asked me to tell her more about that, and what I realized was I didn't really have a whole lot of people in my life to talk to about Leo being transgender. And part of that was my own fault. And part of it was what I realized, thinking about and talking about with her, was that people in my life didn't really know how to talk to me about Leo being transgender. And so what they would do was they would ask how Leo was doing, how he was doing in college. And it was really, now that I think about it, a gateway into a conversation about how I was doing, but I didn't recognize that if I was willing to go there. And the problem was I was waiting for people to ask me, like a direct question, how are you doing? To say those actual words. How are you? How are you feeling? How are you doing with all of this? So like, what do you think about X, Y, or Z? For those actual words to come out of somebody's mouth. And they didn't very often. There was a very few people in my life at that time who were willing to go there with me and to have those really hard conversations, because they were really hard conversations. They were hard for me to have, sorry, and to talk about, and they were very emotional. And so the person doing the asking had to be willing to be brave enough to sit in my pain and to sit in my uncomfortableness and to be willing to have conversations that didn't always have a clear ending. Sometimes it was just rambling thoughts of babble of this is where I am and this is what I think, and or I don't understand, and it never had a clear ending, and it was just not an A to B. It went from A to B to X to Y and all over the place, and it just kind of ended with not a resolution, right? And so that's how those kind of conversations went. And there was a few people who I could talk to about how I felt and how I was doing, and what I really needed was a few more people who were willing to have those kind of conversations. And what I should have done and what I wished I had done was to let a few more people in my life know, hey, I'm having a really hard time right now, or I'm really struggling with not knowing or understanding or with how I'm feeling, and I'd like to talk to you about it. Like, would you be willing to listen? And so I didn't do that, because doing that makes you vulnerable, right? It puts you in the position, one, for that person to say no. Like, they could say no, they weren't able to be that person for you. And then it puts you in the position of being vulnerable enough to say that you are not doing okay, that you're really having a hard time. And so I think we wait for an invitation from somebody else to ask us how we're doing, because when we are asked the question, we are able to either engage in the conversation if we're willing to at that minute, or we can decide at that time, you know what, I can't talk about this today. Or right now, I'm not able to share about this. Like, I'm not in an emotional place where I can have this conversation, so I can just say that I'm fine and move on to something else. And it doesn't allow you to have the conversation that you need to have, but sometimes you're just not in a place where you can have it anyways. And so somebody asking you gives you an opportunity to either have it or not. But you asking somebody else, or saying, I'm really struggling, or, could I talk to you about this? You're already in that vulnerable position. And then you're putting yourself out there to have those conversations. So anyways, all that to say is that if you are the parent of a transgender child, what you need in your life really is support from other people. And I know this because that's the one thing that I really wished I had, and I didn't. And it's not to say I didn't have support from other people, because I did. I just wished that I had more support. I wished that I could have had just a little bit bigger of a circle than I did, because it would have made it easier for me to be able to have the support that I needed, because you need support for yourself so that you can support your child. I talk about that all the time. You need to be supported so that you can in turn support your child. And what does that support look like, right? And part of that support is having other people in your life who are holding you up, especially on the days where you feel like you just can't, like that you're falling apart, or that you just can't stand on your own 2 feet, or that you just need somebody to talk to, or just to cry to, or to lean on, or to go with you to an appointment, or to the store to go shopping for new bedding or clothing, or just to look and, to bounce some ideas off of, because all of that stuff is hard. And sometimes it just helps to have somebody there with you for moral support, just to be able to turn to and to acknowledge that what you're going through can be hard. So I just wanted to pop here on here and say that. And if you are struggling and you don't have the support that you need, think about who is it that you can reach out to. Where is it that you can go for some of that support? Who are the people in your life that you can maybe just give a nudge to and say, hey, this is, something that I'm really having a hard time with. Could you help? And you may be surprised by the people who are willing to step up for you. Okay, and I have to go because I'm gonna run out of time here, and then Instagram's gonna cut me off. Although I think now that we don't have IGTV anymore, I think we have more time in the video feed to talk about things, but I need to check on that. So I'm not taking my chances this week, and then I'll see you here again next week. Okay, bye.